You put enough hot sauce on them, they're okay. I'm going to take you to Luke chapter 10. We're spending a lot of time in Luke chapter 10, the travel narrative. And as we mentioned, Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, and he makes a little stop at Bethany, the home of his friends Mary and Martha and Lazarus with the disciples, and that's where we are this morning. Luke chapter 10, starting with verse 38. Now as they went on their way, he entered a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister named Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to what he was saying. But Martha was distracted by her many tasks. So she came to him and asked, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her then to help me." But the Lord answered her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her." This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Father, guide us in your strength this morning, things that you would have us to say. Be with us as we listen for things that you want us to hear. In Jesus' name, amen. This story of Mary and Martha has been one of consternation for many women down through the years and the men who love them. It's a story of service, in my humble opinion, or in this case, different ways to serve or to be served. Throughout the history of Christianity and even before, some women in the church have often been confined to the role of cooking and cleaning and serving. These are the heirs of Martha, as they have been more or less assigned by church and society. Then there are the Marys of the world, who may not admit that they are such, who serve in a different way by listening and by watching and by, just by being there. In this story, Mary, who does none of the work, gets all of the praise. Is it deserved? And if so, why? That is the argument for the ages, at least in some households, and it has been in mine for many, many years. This has been a difficult double message to live with, especially for the women in my family. It's even more difficult for someone like me to preach about because with my dad and I having been outnumbered in our household by 3-2, my mother and my 2 older sisters and Dad and me. In researching this sermon, I dug into the treasure chest of my dad's 20-year career of his sermons, and I found none based on this scripture. Once again, I realized my father was a lot smarter than I ever gave him credit for. Even then, he knew this was a touchy subject around our house. He wasn't going to preach on it on Sunday morning. And I have been warned by my wife and my sisters and mother-in-law, who all think that Martha got a raw deal in this story, to kind of go easy, to tread lightly. So we will do that this morning as we look into this story of Jesus and Mary and Martha in Bethany. I think we first must look at what led up to the confrontation in this story. Let's think of where Jesus is going as this story is happening. He is on his way to Jerusalem. He is on his way to the cross. He is on his way to die. And his whole being was taken up with the intensity of that inner will to bend his will to the will of God. He didn't want to die, especially not in the horrible way which was set before him. But it is what had to be done. It was the will of the Father. And on the way was at least this one place of peace. When Jesus came to that home in Bethany, it was a great day. This was the home of his friends, sisters Mary and Martha and their brother Lazarus. Martha was eager to celebrate. And she was going to lay on the best that the house had to offer. So she rushed and she fussed and she mussed and she cleaned and she cooked. You have to wonder what was on the menu. I'm guessing if it were me, I would want something like some fried chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy and green beans and corn on the cob and some fried okra and some fresh tomatoes and some squash and cornbread with lots of butter and maybe some sweet tea and chocolate pie, coffee for dessert. That's just me. Anybody take any notes? But a full meal was being prepared. Everything was being arranged just so. And it seems that was precisely what Jesus did not want. All he wanted was a peace of quiet. With the cross before him, with the inner tension in his heart, he had turned aside to Bethany to find an oasis, maybe a little calm away from demanding crowds, if only for an hour or two. Mary, it seems, could possibly read Jesus a little better. She sat quietly at her master's feet, and she listened as he talked. She didn't ask any questions. She didn't make any comments. She didn't intrude. She was just in the moment. She was absorbed by what he was saying, and she was sympathetic. If I have learned nothing from my failed relationships with women, guys, it is this: that women are much better listeners than we are. Men as a whole are not very good at listening. Some women too, but most of us men folks seem to listen just long enough to where we can figure out maybe how to fix the problem. Sometimes we take the idea that doing something, anything, even if it's wrong, is better than doing nothing at all. We as Christians often take that attitude as well. That we've got to do something, take some kind of action. It seems that was Martha's way too. Her way of serving her Lord was, well, to serve him. Everything on the menu. I'm wondering if maybe Martha's last name might not have been Stewart. She couldn't help it. That was just her way. That's what she did. But that way of serving was not the best way at that time, in that place. At that time, in that place, just listening was the best way to serve. Sometimes what we need is just somebody to talk to. Somebody to listen to us. That's what Mary offered. It was her way, Mary's way of serving her master. Martha wasn't wrong in her service. She was just a little off in her timing. Here's one of the great difficulties in life. So often we want to be kind to people. We want to serve them, but we want to be kind to them in our way and on our schedule. We offer them what is on our menu. And should it happen that what they want is not what we had planned to offer, at the time we plan to offer it, sometimes we take offense and we think that we're not appreciative. If we truly wish to serve, the first necessity is to try to see into the heart of the person being served. And then forget all of our plans and think only of what he or she needs. My brother-in-law, Jamie, Donna's little brother, tells the story of a trip he made several years ago with friends to Alaska. On one of their restaurant stops to eat, don't ever eat with Jamie. Do never eat with Jamie. Something always goes wrong. He has a hair in his plate. He has glass in his food. Something is always wrong. Never eat with her brother Jamie. Okay? But they were stopped at this little restaurant, and he had ordered the special. You know, you figure if you order the special, that's going to be the best thing to order. They're making lots of these. He ordered the special of the day on the menu. And as he finished his order, he added that he also wanted a salad with his meal because it was not on the menu for the special. That's when the server matter-of-factly pointed out that the special didn't come with a salad. To which Jamie said that he would like to have a salad anyway. He'll pay for extra for the salad. His server once again said that the special did not come with the salad. This back and forth went on for a couple of minutes until Jamie was utterly exasperated, and he relented to her logic that his order did not come with the salad, so therefore he was not entitled to have a salad. And he never got a salad. I don't think he ordered any pie either. It was not on the menu. To her way of thinking, Jamie's server was just doing her job by pointing out that what he ordered did not come with a salad, and that was not what he wanted. He wanted a salad, but she could not help him get a salad. She was doing things her way, which was contrary to what he needed as the one who was in need of a salad. In her mind, she was following the rules of the restaurant. The menu didn't say that the special came with the salad, so she could not let him have a salad. She wasn't thinking of him or what he needed. She was thinking only what she had to offer. But good service is in the eye of the one being served. Jamie's server thought she was doing a good job. Jamie did not. In the story of Mary and Martha, we think Martha's doing a good job. But Jesus thinks Mary's service is better. Martha was trying to give Jesus what she thought he needed, but what she had to offer was not what he wanted. Martha's will was not aligned with his. If Martha had just taken a moment, as Mary was doing, to align her will with the will of the Savior, to find out what he needed of her, just as Jesus was doing on this little trip to Bethany, on his way to Jerusalem, to find out exactly what God needed of him, she would have been better able to serve him. In the same way, if we will listen to what those in need actually would like for us to do, what Jesus wants us to do, we too will be better at serving those around us. We do this a lot in the church. We have committee meetings, we come up with programs which we think will help those in need around us. We put this or that program into action. It flops and we wonder why. Usually it's because we haven't first talked with, and more importantly, listened to any of those for which the program was intended to help in the first place. We have not involved those who might actually benefit from what we are offering. We assume we know what they need. We assume we know best. We assume our will is matched to theirs. In this story, Mary's will was perfectly aligned with Jesus' will. Why? Because she listened. She offered Jesus something that was not on Martha's menu. She had chosen the good portion. The good portion was not one of Martha's choice dishes prepared for the occasion. We will sing a song in just a bit by 19th century poet Fanny J. Crosby, which reminds us that we are to choose Jesus as our everlasting portion, more than a friend or even our own mortal lives could be. Mary chose to be at Jesus' feet so that she could hear his words and be in his presence. That was all the food she needed. That was the one thing needful. That was the good portion, the everlasting portion. It was also her best way to serve Jesus at that moment. Jesus encouraged Martha to go off the menu, to share in the one thing needful, which was the desire to be with him above all else, and to share in the freedom and joy that he and Mary were experiencing. Martha was being encouraged to feast on the same portion Mary enjoyed with Jesus. Mary and Jesus were ordering off the same menu. They were on the same page, in tune with each other, and each ends up serving each other. This can only happen when the one who serves takes the time to learn the needs of the one who is being served. This is one thing some of us are just now learning as a church. In the days and weeks to come, we will be asking those around us how we might be better at serving the needs of those in the area. In fact, we've already started doing that. Is Martha's style of service better, or is Mary the one that we should be emulating? We'll be asking questions. We'll be listening to the answers so that we might align our wills, first with the will of God, then with the needs of those looking for God's will also in their lives. It makes us feel good to truly serve someone, doesn't it? To help them, to know that we made a difference in someone's life. In some cases, Martha's style of service might be better, especially to those who are physically starving. In others, Mary's style is better, especially to those who are hungry for understanding and the love of God. But we will not know until we ask and then listen to what they say. In either case, Jesus is preparing the feast for us also. We dare taste and see that the Lord is good. Jesus is willing to serve us everything we need for our spiritual well-being. But first, we must be willing to accept it. In that way, service is also a two-way street. If our will is aligned with His, then we will get exactly what we require. And we will be able to serve either as Mary or as Martha. Jesus said the Son of Man came to serve, not to be served. He is standing at our table waiting for us to place an order. So what would you like? I think we can start with a plate full of forgiveness and understanding, couldn't we? How about a large bowl of mercy on the side? Then a big heaping helping of redemption and restoration? We'll wash it all down with the refreshing drink of His amazing grace. He has laid out for us a heavenly banquet on the table of hospitality, filled with the finest soul food we could ever imagine. There's plenty to go around, so all we have to do is pull up a chair. We can have the special, His special. Maybe if we play our cards right, we can have a salad. Thanks be to God. Let us pray.